Dr. Praveen Chandra is going to focus on the one of the complication of this condition is microvascular and macrovascular thrombosis. Dr. Praveen Chandra.
Thank you, Dr. Agarwal. And we are, at this stage, we are discussing a lot of the issues related with COVID and a lot of issues related of doctors with COVID. And that is what the main intention of discussion today is. And I thank Dr. KK for organizing this very important symposium. And I thank my colleagues, Dr. Wangnu and Dr. Mohan, who are also here from their very, very busy schedules. So I'm glad that we are, at this platform today to discuss these important issues. So today, what I'm going to share with you is what is the relationship of COVID with thrombotic events. How does it present in terms of thrombosis? Because most of us know that it leads to fever, cough, dyspnea, and respiratory symptoms, but we have now realized and seen from the various series which are available from China, from Italy, and from United States that it also presents in myriad forms, in different forms, and it can mimic different diseases. It can mimic a heart attack, it can mimic a stroke, and things like that. So I'll go through that, but before I really go for the thrombosis thing, I will share with you the protection, because Dr. KK told me that we also want to discuss the protection which we have to do in these patients, and I'll take you through that. I think it is in the end. Okay. So what I will share with you now is that with COVID, patients, 80% of these patients remain all right, and everybody knows this now. It's a known fact. But some patients become very sick, and the sickness is mainly related to the respiratory system, and also sometimes beyond the respiratory system, where these patients come with acute shock, multiple organ dysfunction, and sometimes also presenting and mimicking the coagulopathies, systemic coagulopathies such as DIC, thrombotic microangiopathy, and also sometimes myocardial infarction and stroke. So that is why whenever we are seeing patients of acute MI in the emergency, we we had developed this program of acute primary angioplasty in these patients. But these days, we do the primary angioplasty only if we are able to do it with the full PPE kit, full N95 mask, and because it could be a mimicker of COVID-19. So that is the situation. And why did this happen? Because there is a effect on the platelet and red cell aggregation in these patients, leading to venous and arterial thromboembolic complications. So that is the impact of COVID-19 in these patients. These patients also present with pulmonary embolism. They become very breathless, and there is a disproportionately high incidence of venous thromboembolism and also arterial thrombosis in these patients who have COVID-19 infection. And the incidence of this has been found to be in the range of 35 to 40%, which is quite high. However, some people may say that it happens in critically ill patients in any case. Yes, it does, but the incidence otherwise is not so high. It is in the range of about 10 to 15%. So, which means with this infection, the coagulation pathways or coagulopathies are much more enhanced and leading to more complications. So, what is the mechanism? One of the factors which has been implicated is the ACE2 receptor. And we all know that this virus attacks the ACE2 receptor, leading to the incidence of vascular damage and risk of thrombosis in patients. So, who are the patients who are more prone? Similarly, as we know for COVID, criticality, that elderly patients, overweight patients, hypertension, diabetes. So the more the comorbidities are, and those patients who have genetic predisposition to increase clotting, and those patients who are taking medications that increase the risk of clotting can be candidates for COVID-19 infection. And that is why we have also seen that in many patients who have been given the, even the antiviral drug has also been related to increased incidence of thrombosis in these patients. So anyone with a severe illness is the risk of developing clots in patients who are having COVID-19, and they present in various forms, as you already know, purpuric rashes, clots, and, clogging of catheters. And then, of course, those who have extreme phenomena of embolism or acute myocardial infarction, they can even have sudden cardiac death. So this is the way it presents. It can present like acute MI, it can present like stroke, and of course, pulmonary embolism. So it's basically hitting the patient in many possible ways when COVID infection actually gets in. So these clots actually, are maybe sometimes the direct effect of SARS-CoV-2 infection on the endothelial cells that line the blood vessels, or it could be activation of ACE2 receptors, which are present in the body in various locations, leading to occurrence of clot formation in these patients. So the third mechanism, which is also has been proposed, is the effect of virus on the immune system, leading to release of inflammatory markers, leading to increased risk of coagulation through the various pathways which trigger the clumping of these platelets because of the inflammatory markers. So all these could be the various mechanisms, but certainly all these lead to one common effect, which is coagulation issues leading to venous and arterial thrombosis. So how do we treat these problems? Well, of course, these patients have to be put on anticoagulants like heparin or low molecular weight heparin, especially in those patients who are already hospitalized, or those patients who are on mechanical ventilation. They all have to receive these intravenous or low molecular weight heparin for prevention of thromboembolic complications. And the typical drug which we use is unfractionated heparin in these patients. Now, the second thing is about the use of antiplatelets. Antiplatelets in those patients where antiplatelets are already being given, it is being continued. We don't have to reduce the dose. In fact, maybe sometimes we have to enhance the dose or add a second antiplatelet. And those patients who come with stroke and MI, they are mimicking. They have to be typically given even the newer antiplatelets like ticagrelor and prasugrel, which are much, much more powerful than clopidogrel as we used to give it earlier. So the oral antiplatelet medication, although is not recommended to be given to just COVID-19 patients, only for high-risk patients or those patients who are presenting as the effect of thromboembolic complications. So in the end, I must say that there is a high rate of effect on the clotting, leading to serious effects like MI and stroke, and pulmonary embolism, leading to much more morbid and leading to increased mortality in these patients. So in these patients, anticoagulation is the treatment of choice, and preventing that is much more important. Now, that was one part of my presentation, but small few slides, 3-4 slides on how do we prevent the disease to attack us. And of course, because we are at the front line and we have to be careful. So as you can, you have to be careful of taking the history of these patients, because sometimes it has happened that the patient of MI has been brought to the cath lab, and then suddenly somebody took a history whether you had fever. He said, yes, I have fever. So then that is too late. So we have to take the history of these patients. It is extremely important, and the history, you all know what we have to ask: fever, cough, breathlessness, etc. And of course, earlier it used to be travel history. Now I don't think it makes any sense to ask the travel history because nobody is traveling. And then we have to wear surgical masks in hospital facilities, and those patients in those situations where we need a level 2 or level 3 protection is use of FFP2, FFP3 or N95 mask in situations where we are dealing with probable or suspected cases, and also managing confirmed cases. So this is the important thing, and use of PPE is recommended for situations where the procedure is being done or we are treating a patient who is already infected. So these are the measures, and for the family of the healthcare personnel at home, people have to, it's better to use a homemade mask at home. It may not be necessary to use an N95 mask, and also do hand washing and cleaning up yourself much more rigorously than ever before. So that is the recommendation. These are the definition of patient risk status based on which we have to decide as to what level of protection we should do. So there are three levels of protection we have been which have been prescribed: level 1, level 2, and level 3. So in level 1, we have to use just the disposable surgical mask, disposable surgical gloves, uniform of the working uniform, and normal latex gloves. In level 2, it has to be a surgical cap also, a medical protection mask which is N95 or FFP2, uniform, gown, and disposable surgical gloves and goggles. So that is level 2. And level 3 is disposable cap, medical protection mask FFP3, work uniform, gown, disposable surgical gloves, full face respiratory protective devices, or sometimes a powered air purifying respirator, which is now available, which can be used. And this is done, the level 3 is done where the aerosol generation is happening, where endotracheal intubation is being done in these patients where the confirmation of SARS-2 negativity has not been done. So in these patients, we have to do these things. And these are the various kind of masks. You must know which one mask, how much micron filter is there. And the last one you can see down is the powered air purifying respirator, which can be attached, and one can wear this while treating such sick patients. And this is the method of wearing and taking out the PPE, because most of us don't know how to use it also. So we have to know what is the sequence on which we have to use it, because if you don't do it properly, at the time of taking it off, you can give infection to yourself. So that is very important. So this is the donning and taking it off, doffing of the full this equipment of PPE for any individual. So with this, I think I will stop here, and thank you very much for the kind attention.